Everyone, it's 10 o'clock. Or are we live, Les? Okay, I'll call the meeting in order. Agenda, any additions or deletions? Not seeing any. Richard's moving the agenda as presented. Vote. That's carried. Minutes from last meeting. Michelle's moving them. Everybody read them? Any questions on them? Not seeing any. Oh. Two sets.
Is that two, right?
Yeah, there was two.
Oh, yeah, the 5th and the 20th. Well, one at a time. We're only moving the 5th. Sorry. Yeah. Any questions on it? Vote. Okay, now the minutes for the 19th. Shane's moving them. Everybody's good with it? Vote. Richard, vote. That's carried. 4.1, Terlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegation requests on page 11, Meridian Irrigation Project, submitted by Aaron Bauer. If you go on page 11, it talks about the activities to date regarding this matter. And then subsequent, there's background information on the project that he'd like to come to council and share about. And he's asking to come to a future council meeting to present information on this.
Robin's moving it. Any questions on it? Vote. That's carried. 6.1, Terlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 27, there is bylaw 2024-01 land use amendment. The recommended motion is that council move first reading of bylaw 2024-01. On the bottom of page 27 and 28, there is information in regards to the bylaw.
Okay. Richard?
I'll move first reading. To have.
First reading. Any questions? Vote. Carried. 7.1, Terlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 2023 income and expenditures, it's on page 33, and information to follow. The summary of the revenue and expenditure by department is on page 36. Is there any questions?
Lloyd's going to move those. So anybody have any questions on them? Not seeing any. Vote. It's carried. 7.2, Terlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Capital update on page 37. The recommended motion that council receives the December 2023 capital budget update as information, and there is substantial information to follow, and it goes to page 42.
Yeah, there's lots of reading on that one. Yep. Keith, you can move that one? Any questions on it? Shane?
I was just wondering, I didn't see it. If we were going to be looking at maybe adding another gravel truck into our fleet with a trailer, because I see we're starting to spend a lot of money on hiring out. Can we do, maybe look at it?
Through the chair. Yes, we're evaluating the the program that we did last year and the cost, and to see if there's justification or cost savings to adding one of those trucks, boxes.
Thumbs up, perfect.
Okay, any other questions? Not seeing, it was well put together, thank you. We'll ask for the vote. That's carried. CAO report, Terlin?
We'll do accounts payable.
Oh, sorry, I
no
checked that off already, that's done.
No, all good.
We'll go back
So,
and try
on page 43 is accounts payable listing, and it goes to page 70. Is there any questions? And the recommended motion is that, that council receive as information.
Okay. Blaine, let's move on that one. You have any questions on it? Okay.
Just hang on a minute.
Do we need Michael here?
Michael showed me what I did wrong.
So now you're trying to teach Keith? Yeah. Oh, boy.
That was half an hour ago. I'm here, I can help. You didn't hear that? Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that something? I'll supervise. Waiting for the lights to go out.
You know what we have here is a total lack of respect. Hurt one person's feelings, you know?
As a fellow senior, get used to it.
Most of us are seniors here. Shouldn't be a problem.
Younger generation.
Oh, this year. Damn. That sucks.
Perfect. Okay?
You got it?
I think so.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you know, you're welcome, I mean.
Let Michael know if he needs backup sometime. Got the guy here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next week, next meeting, I'll bring a whole bunch of peanuts for the gallery.
Promises, promises.
All right, does anybody have any questions on it? Not seeing any? Vote. That's carried. Now we'll try the CAO report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 71 to 87 is the administrative reports. The recommended motion that council approve the CAO report as presented. Is there any questions?
Robin?
My question is just, you attended the regional waste management meeting. Just kind of curious as to how things are looking with that.
I think that things are moving forward. However, there is still some, I won't say struggles, but it's, the board is working the best they can to work through them. And they've had a change of, they have a lot of new staff there as well. So looking at what happened in the past and trying to catch up to that and trying to build a strong future, and they're trying.
Any other questions, Robin? Are you good with that? Okay. Michelle?
Not a question, just a comment. I'm really happy to see that EOEP course for partnerships and collaborations course is coming. I'm very happy about that.
So we're looking at April, more than likely, trying to get, you know how it is to find dates. But that's kind of what we're working towards right now.
Any other questions or comments? Not seeing any? Since Robin asked the first question, no. Robin's accepting the report. Okay. Not seeing any? Vote. That's carried. Councilors' reports. Just to add to mine a little bit, and Robin's gonna probably add to it too for the ICF meeting that I was at. We're gonna discuss it a little bit here. Do you wanna, I'll just let it come to you and you can discuss it. Okay? That's gonna come forward. Other than that, I had, everything's on the, everything I did there, I just, I had the one yesterday, I can't remember, that's the new one you guys just assigned me to, I can't think of the renewals. For rural renewal for. Yeah, regards the immigration, that's, we've had a couple meetings on it, we're just getting it all set up and organized and rules and regulations on it. It's coming around pretty, I think it's gonna be interesting, it's gonna be helpful for the region, so Bow Island's really on board, they're looking forward to it coming in. I'll give you a little bit of a quick breakdown on it. The MLI that is needed now, it used to be called LMOs. We're allowed 225 for the region. And with that, so an old employer, the way it used to work, or still works, if you're an employer, it takes up to a year to get those LMIs done. Costs you about $1,000 to do them. And alls it is you gotta keep advertising for employees, you keep doing interviews for employees, you keep lists of how many people didn't want the job, and it's just a year-long process. With this committee on here, they can take these 225 spots, and if you need an employee, they can allocate that level of it to you so you can have one right off the start. You don't have to play around. As long as you've been in business for 2 years, you can have it. So, and I think they said it's gonna cost $150 to get it for the employer, so. That's the basic of it all. As more comes on, I'll let you guys in on it all, but I think it'll really help the region for people who need people right now. I remember when I used to have to do it, that was such a pain to get everything in order and have, you'd set all these interviews and everything up and nobody would show up for the interview, which helped to get the LMO at the time, but still it was all that time that you had to do. This is a step that just takes it over top of that, so. That's all I have to add for that, and then we'll start with Robin over here.
The last month has basically been me sitting in my chair, healing up. I can move my arm again. Okay. But we did have a meeting this morning with regards to the ICF. Dan did a good job representing us at the last meeting where the city came back with some of their commentary. I believe we are about 24 months almost from when we initially requested for the amendment to the IDP. And what we were kind of shown and given was not really a whole lot. And so I know that Kim met with some of the city staff here lately, and we're getting some movement on some good conversations. We are looking at putting out a request to their committee to have Dan and I go and kind of present the county's perspective on why having a half-mile buffer for growth is adequate versus having what we currently have, which is that 2 mile, and just really focusing on the fact that the city's own philosophy for urban development and growth right now is this 15-minute cities, which is not about expansion, it's about infill and densification and everything. And so we're wanting to take, I guess, it to the next level with regards to the elected officials and really trying to build on the inertia that Kim has created with staff in these conversations and try to get this thing over the line. It's been way too long, and we want to, I think that going to committee is probably the best way for us to speak directly from elected officials to elected officials and try to get this thing wrapped up and get some kind of resolution to it. Because honestly, after 24 months, if we can't get something through committee and through ICF, I think it's pretty much time to start looking at going on our own and you know, becoming a little less dependent on our neighbors.
That, and there's other alternatives to doing this. We're trying to play in the sandbox nicely. But I will say that the other counselors that were in the ICF meeting at the last one, they were pretty frustrated on how long this has taken, and what was brought back was fairly embarrassing to what was brought forward on what's going on, so underwhelming, yeah. So they did say there would be some movement before the February meeting, and they have had meetings with Kim already, so they definitely got a little bit of a fire lit right now, so hopefully we get some progress. Blaine?
Oh, I'd
Oh,
like
do
to
you have a
comment.
question?
Yeah, I
Oh,
do.
I do
okay,
too.
Hold on.
Michelle first.
You had said that there was other things that we could do, and since they aren't playing nice in the sandbox, what do you mean?
Personal opinions right here. I would say that if we can't get to a point, then we start looking at seeking legal options and removing ourselves from the agreement. You know, there's growth regions and growth boards all over the province right now that are falling apart because the urbans and the rurals can't seem to find ways to grow in a mutually beneficial way. And the growth boards are really there to protect the cities. And our argument for the last 2 years has been that the current IDP protects the city and it sterilizes land in the county. And so, you know, we came forward 2 years ago with a well thought out first alternative or option that Jeffrey came up with. And it took 18 months for a comment back, and it'll be 24 months before we actually have dialogue. That is not acceptable. And, you know, historically speaking, the county, the only thing that's kept the county from being able to look at managing development on its own is access and restrictions based on water. And so water was used as a muzzle or as a choker to restrict, and it was basically a governor on growth. And so, you know, we know that we have options. We've been exploring options on water and access to potable water. And I don't think that it's a bad thing to show our cards and basically say, listen, like we want to be able to work together and find a way to do this. But if this is going to end up becoming something that continually puts us in the bad position and we just get ignored, maybe we look at solidifying our own water source and we look at doing development on our own. And because this has to be an equal partnership, and 24 months to come to a halfway decent conversation is just not acceptable. Yeah.
That answered it.
Shane?
I was just curious with all this
You turned it off.
because what Rocky View must have did with Calgary, because you look at Cross Irons and all that development in that area, from casinos to hotels to equipment dealers, all in the MDA Rocky View there, in between Calgary and Airdrie. I mean, the collaboration, if that 2 mile rule, there would have been nothing. That'd be empty. So, I mean, there's a look at how, you know, collaboration, they must have collaborated and to get all that going. I mean, it's unreal, all the expansion and everything going on in there, and it's more going. I was just in there through the holidays here and took the back road, and it's unbelievable.
Well, that's where they come in with the half a mile from the city to and we're stuck at the 2 mile. That's exactly why we brought this forward and what we're trying to do.
Well, I think to further that, the IDP, it has all of those restrictions, right? The restrictions that are there. And I believe that what we've done is we've taken a collaborative approach to trying to find a practical solution that works for everybody. The problem is that the collaboration and the practical and the good faith approach that we've taken hasn't been reciprocated for whatever those reasons would be. But I know that currently the Edmonton Growth Board is at risk. I believe Sturgeon, Strathcona, Parkland are all talking about pulling out of the growth region. And it creates some issues. But the real problem that exists is that you've got urban and rural. You've got a lot of the rules that urbans are trying to, they're the big players, they're the big cities, they have all these, and so then I think there's a certain level of entitlement that comes with that, and so these growth boards are starting to really come to a point where they're at risk. The partnerships, the growth boards, they're losing members that are like critical members. You think about the Edmonton Growth Board, Sturgeon County, Parkland County, and Strathcona County, that's the heartland. Like, we've got $30 billion worth of industry. If they can't find ways to make it work and they feel like it's best for them to go on their own, we would like to be able to find a way to make this work. But I just, at the end of the day, I refuse to believe that we're just stuck living by their rules if they're not prepared to come to the table. And if they're not prepared to come to the table with a practical solution, then I think that we're obligated to our ratepayers to explore other opportunities.
Next steps.
Yeah.
Any other questions on it? No? Thanks, Robin.
Well, sorry. Mine's not gonna be quite as exciting. Wasn't a whole bunch going on. It was cold. Had one ratepayer complaining a little bit about some grader and road issues. We got that resolved. Public Works did a good job of resolving that situation. Had a Cypress County Library Board meeting, our first one of the year, where we held our elections and had our officers appointed. Project looks really, really good. Had a lot of positive comments throughout the holidays and of how it's enhanced the town. So kind of looking forward to the grand opening, which is going to be February 3rd from 1 to 4. Hopefully everybody can make it. Yeah, so other than that, that's all I got.
Michelle?
Yes, tried to stay warm. That's about it. I had a couple Cypress View meetings. What was this year-end FCSS meeting? I'm not thinking of it, obviously.
You guys met on the 19th before,
Oh, yes,
19th
yes, yes,
before
yes.
council.
Okay, I was, sorry. I just couldn't remember it, and I saw it on yours, and it's like, well, I don't remember that, but. I was there. I just didn't remember. Cypress View, I did a couple Christmas parties and MPC the other day, and that's about it.
Richard?
I met a couple of people, had a coffee, discussed some items. One of them was there's a group in Desert Bloom that would like to update a couple of playgrounds. They've got some prices. I'll bring that back in February to a meeting. Another phone call on the fire department and issues in the Walsh area. Tried to explain. Not sure if they believe me or not, but anyway, that's over. And I spent a day down at the library moving books over. I helped out, and Stephen's dad came down with me, so we got quite a bit done that day. And then on Monday they finished it off, and I was there at the board meeting, and yes, everything is pretty good. A couple little issues that we're going to work on is the lighting. Excuse me, the lighting in the washrooms. It's just, we probably need to add one more. It's a little bit dim and then adjust a door and stuff like that. But it is really coming along good. Wouldn't mind knowing when we get close to the grand opening who's going to show up, so we can put a little bit of a plan together. Chamber of Commerce has offered us that big scissors that they use, so we'll probably partake of that. And I know Blaine is going to work on the list there. You've been trying to contact some people that we feel should be there, and so yeah, just it's moving along really good. Should be open in a week, I think.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's glad that Jack went, because he said he did all the work and you were doing all the talking, so. Shane?
Is that why we got them bills from the Urban Hotel? Not much, just a couple phone calls about this and that, and nothing too serious. One thing I'd like to bring up is with staff through the chair is, where are we with the above-ground sewer on the old Trans-Canada Highway at the house there beside Silver Creek?
I can take it. Okay, as that letter went into McIver's office, and I was contacted by his right-hand person. They are definitely, because I've seen it out there, he was getting right on it, so we should know within the next couple of weeks what's going on there. They're just in the process. They just got it on their table, so, but
That's a lot farther than we were than last year at this time, so,
with my conversation with them, they will be very active on it, so.
good.
Yeah, safety codes have been, there is a screw up there where somebody moved on and they thought the file was done, you know, the whole
Yeah.
crap that goes with it, but they are on it. They're definitely dealing with it.
Okay, very good. I can let them know, and otherwise, no, very quiet through the holiday deal, and just glad to be back.
Sir Lloyd?
Thank you. It has been pretty busy. Believe me. Went to the landfill meeting, and before that, had the planning commission and the library, and at the resource center. It was really good. First time I've been there. It's a job well done, and I thank the girls for putting it all together. The landfill meeting, just a couple of points. Our bank account, as of December 31st, is sitting at 4.995. It's what's in the bank right now. And,
Million?
yep.
Yeah.
So the building has been deferred until February. They seem to be having a lot of, when I say staffing problems, it's not their staff, it's contractors. The scales are still having problems with them. They're not working properly. They are accurate. However, they can't zero them. And so it's an electronic issue. And Standard is the company that is responsible for it. They have been contacting them, wanting to know if it's under warranty, and they're not paying any bills. And Standard hasn't got back to them and they've been trying for over a month. They phoned and,
You sure it's Standard or that other?
no, it's Standard. I asked them. They're contacting the other company, which I forget their name.
Standard, the better one. The guys that put that in.
That was Standard, yeah, he said Standard.
I think it's.
Unless I misunderstood it, but,
Standard wasn't the outfit that installed that scale.
Yeah.
It's a different outfit. It's this Southerner.
It was an oddball.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's two
But
that they
it's-
use, one is bad and one is good.
Standard's the good one.
Okay. The dozer, again, work issues with where they took it to. Pump, they say, is not covered by warranty. And now there's electrical problems apparently underneath the dozer that was never there before when it was there. So they're having issues with that. Also at the transfer site, they were putting up some railings there, 6 bars, or 6 sections, 3 bars each. 3 were made, and the other 3, the company that was doing it hasn't sent the bill, hasn't shown up. They've phoned, sent letters. They don't know where the company is. So they're halfway done anyways, so they're gonna find somebody else to finish the job. So, I asked, the new tractor is still on the books. The town of Red Cliff has offered to, from a tractor that has been put in surplus, $400 a month rental, and we can use it. The tractor is only going to be used for the litter picker, the new one, and they haven't even purchased it yet. But they need something that's at least 80 horse. So the deal is $400 a month plus we pay for repairs. This one that they're saying we can rent, there's something wrong with the PTO. Yeah. So, yeah. So Larry brought up the fact he tried to get it donated for free, but they said no. So anyways, I deferred it and requested all the maintenance reports on it, so that's supposed to be coming in February. They only had one bid for, or one assessment for leasing a tractor, and that was from Ag Plus, and that's $2,000 a month. So, and it's, don't need a front-end loader, and there's gonna be, at the most, 50 hours put on that tractor is what they figure. That's the season.
No.
No, it's just gonna be used for the litter picker, they said.
I know what he said, but nobody's looking at reality out there. The real reality is the amount of compost coming in with bags, the molasses loads look white, as if it snowed. The garbage is still all over the place. And I'm really, people thinking that we ought to sit down with the town of Red Cliff and we gotta discuss this, because there is an issue there. Because there's more garbage blowing, that compost, there's more and more garbage coming in that looks like, not the molasses loads, I was just disgusted looking over at it and, wow. So, I mean, there's a lot of garbage blowing around out there.
They brought up the garbage. Jock was talking and says it only takes about an hour or 2 to pick it up. That's what he, so, anyway, I was just wondering if we can go to the chair to ask Red Cliff if they can get other quotes for leasing a tractor. And I know, got brought up that maybe the county might have something for them. Still waiting on that. So, the, looking for the right thing. The compost came up. That's okay. Anyways, because we've been asking about this grant from the government and what it's gonna cost and all this, so anyways, the total project for this compost was 2.588 and some change. So the grant was funded by the federal government for just a little over $1 million. So we put up $1,528,000, the rest of it. Now, it's a 6-year contract and it is done in 28. And if we don't follow it, the agreement says we have to pay back $1 million. So I asked them what it would, if they could figure out what it would be if we wanted to pay it out. And Claire Lynn helped me out and also wanted to get a quote on if we sold equipment that's connected with the compost, what our losses would be. The budget came up for the compost, and Larry Leopard from Red Cliff wasn't happy about it, and they're coming back, and he wants some changes made because when you look at it, I was trying to find it here for you. If you look at it and the land, the airspace we're saving is roughly around 300 grand. And it looks like we're making that kind of money, but we're not. It's costing. So there's going to be a new report on that in February.
Do you want me to further that a little bit?
Yes.
Like about the airspace? So what Mr. Liepert was saying is that, okay, so we're bringing in compost from Calgary. Okay, so we're bringing it in, we're not removing it from what is going to be put into the cells. So how can we say that we're saving that when we're begging people to bring it in? And I helped him explain it a little bit, and finally, because it's showing that we're removing $300,000 or saving that airspace into the main cells, but we're not, because we're not removing the vegetative matter or organics that would be going in there. It's a separate feedstock that we're bringing in. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, well, it doesn't make sense, but yeah, but his questions was really good.
Robin, you had a question?
I had a question, Lloyd, on the 4.9 million in the bank. Are we sure that that's cash in the bank and not assets?
No, that is investments and.
That's retained,
cash.
it's basically retained earnings?
Yeah,
Because that's different than
I had it here.
cash.
But that would be the reserves too for redoing the
Okay.
top and that, in that.
General
4.9.
account landfill,
1.6.
Reserves.
1.6 is with the Woody investments,
right,
1.6, and that is the post-closure. Just remember that.
Yeah.
That, for sure, that's on there.
so,
Is that where it's supposed to be for the post-closure, or is that
That's
still
up for
behind?
debate. How, yeah.
Steve?
Well, green, that was a new one, green flash, but Terrelyn had sent me back on January 10th, and I had a little bit of time to review that 4.9. It's not misleading, but in this cash flow, estimated cash flow statement, that 4.99 is the estimated cash flow at the end of '24. So it's the budgeted amount. Today, cash on hand is 3.6. And the anticipated ending cash in '24 is 3.6. So there'll be, whatever comes in this year will go out. But there will be, so the landfill reserve is only 550, and the post-closure reserve is only 1.1. And we know that's probably dreadfully low, but, and that 5.5 of the reserve and the post-closure make up that 1.6. That's the Wood Gundy reserve in those documents.
And so, did they make the adjustments to start? I know it's behind, but as of today, with the amount of garbage is going in, are the adjustments made to put into that reserve for the appropriate amount going in right now?
It doesn't look like there's any thought given towards that, no.
Okay. Go ahead, Rob.
I know that we're a landfill authority, right? But do we do calculations like what our EBITDA might be in a sense to understand what our annual earnings are? Because I understand what you're saying. We're not talking about cash on hand. I think that we're looking at a balance statement and we're looking at assets, equity, reserves, and not translating that into cash flow. Because if we actually had 4.9 million, we wouldn't need to be doing requisitions for munis to open up new cell space. You'd basically go to your bank and say, hey, finance this, please. I hope, and honestly, my own personal perspective, Lloyd, on the town offering that machinery, I think that's a hard no, because at $400 a month, you're going to have $15,000 a year in repairs on that thing. You'd be better off to utilize our municipal discount, buy brand new, and if you're putting 80 hours on it a year, you're going to use that thing for life and sell it. Like we need to start operating this thing like a business, whether we have a manager that comes in with an MBA and put them on a bonus system where at the end of the year, you look at sell space, you look at what we brought in, what we put out, what our margins were, and he gets bonus based on the health of the organization versus from a municipal perspective trying to find the cheapest way of doing things, which I think is leading to just overall mismanagement by trying to save expenses. Like at the end of the day, it's an extremely valuable asset. And if I understood right, Terlyn, that compost coming in from Calgary, like if we're just filling up space with product that isn't actually generating revenue, right? Is that what I understood from that?
Yeah.
Pretty well, basically it.
Yeah, like honestly, in business, that's how people get fired with cause. And so we just need to find ways to switch the way that we manage this right now, because otherwise we're kind of we're running it into the ground, right? And so I'd be way more supportive of having spending a little bit of money on something that we're not going to be maintaining all the time. You know how it is buying an old tractor, and you put money into that thing, and yeah, it's a nice thought to give you a great deal on something that they know. When we're talking about partnerships, it'd be better off to say, hey, I'll tell you what, the county or the town is going to rent the tractor to the authority at $400, and then all of the repairs get added on to the expenses, and then we split everything right down the middle. That's good faith partnership.
I know where you're going there. I've been looking for a tractor, so I've been searching, and you can buy an 80 horsepower utility tractor for 70,000 to 80,000 brand new. And I know they say you don't need a front end loader, but guaranteed, keep that front end loader, you need it on. You'll need it.
Yeah, I think the presentation's good. There's a lot to work on here, but we should move on to the next. We can go down a rabbit hole really badly here and
Would,
be here for a while.
would council like to have a presentation? They haven't, the authority hasn't given a presentation to council as a whole for a little bit. Would that be something that you guys would be,
Brave for him to come in.
would that be something that you would? So what will, if you guys are cool with it, we've done it in the past. I just haven't done it for a little bit. So, so I'll reach out to Shannon and we'll go from there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Michael put out for the budget for the.
Do you have any more, Lloyd?
No, just that, we've already, well, my opinion is, I just wanted to see the maintenance records, but I'm with you with this, because they surplused it for a reason. And apparently it's not that old from what I understand.
Yeah. The thing is with partnerships like this, there's no favors. There shouldn't be favors being done. It's you split the expenses. So you find the appropriate rental. If you want to rent it from the town, no problem. Rent it fully to the authority. The authority tracks that expense, all of the maintenance, all of that stuff, and it gets divvied up right down the middle. Like that, the moment we start trying to think about ways of giving deals or whatever, it's just you open up for, it's just bad management. Yeah.
Okay. That's all you had, Lloyd?
That's it for, and just a lot of phone calls, well, I shouldn't say a lot of interesting phone calls, I'll put it that way, on the fire departments. We'll maybe bring it up in the next meeting.
Okay. Keith?
My area seems to be doing really well. I got 0 phone calls. I had 0 problems and nothing to report.
But your phone's been dead.
Yeah, you need to turn your phone on, Keith. Okay. If you move the reports.
I'll move the reports.
Okay, Michelle's moving the reports. Any questions? Vote. That's carried. We will take a 5-minute break. Hey, we're back to 10.1, Carolyn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Suffield Community Association lunch invite on page 89. The Suffield Community Recreation Association Council Appreciation Lunch. They're very appreciative all of the contributions that Cypress County has given to them, and they would like to propose, they'd like to host a lunch. And it's on page 89. At the bottom is the invite from the president. And the recommended motion, the council accept the appreciation lunch invite from the Suffield Community Recreation Association on one of the proposed dates. So it's February 8th, 9th, 22nd, or 23rd. What date works for you guys?
Go ahead.
February 8th, we're going to be in Calgary for Brown and Lee, so we got to scratch that one for sure.
Process of elimination.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it.
I don't think I have a problem with the 22nd or the 23rd. We can't do the 8th and the 9th.
22nd is a Thursday. 23rd.
Either one of them for me is fine.
Yep,
22nd.
do the 22nd.
22nd works, guys?
Good,
I,
Rob?
The 22nd of February?
Yeah.
Let me just quickly check because I might be in Grand Prairie. But
I think I gave the wrong information. When are we going to Calgary for,
Brownlee is on the 9th.
on the 9th?
We go up on the 8th.
Okay. And do we have anything on the 23rd in Calgary? No, I guess not. Okay. Thanks.
You good for the 22nd, Rob?
put her down, and February, I'm in like 4 different places with judo with kids and winter
Okay.
teams, so if I can make it, I'll make it.
So the majority of us are 22nd? Or do you have something,
Yeah,
Michelle?
I just had a thought. If everybody's going to Brownlee on Thursday, that's when the hotel rooms are Thursday night, right? So we could do lunch and then we're partway there already.
I think I've only got a couple registrations, so.
Oh,
I'm interested.
And there's also, for the Edmonton option, for the course, there's the virtual option, which we'll be having here as well. I just don't recall that date offhand, but Councillor Lloyd is taking it.
okay. I was just, like I said, it was just a thought. Whatever, I'm good. With
The
22nd
22nd.
or the 23rd.
22nd is what we'll pick.
Sure.
All right. Keith? Keith's moving it for the 22nd of February. Vote. That's carried. 10.2, Carolyn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Intersection of Township Road 120 and Highway 3 signage. It's on page 91. Councillor Vossler requested signage for Township Road 120 at the intersection of Highway 3 to be added to the agenda. And I believe Deputy Reeve Oster is going to speak on it.
Conversation came up with somebody that lives in that area. What happened, there was a semi that took the turn, and when they fall over on their side, I'm saying they went too fast and flipped. Unfortunately, nobody was sitting there waiting for their access onto the number 3 highway. And the concern was that maybe there should be some more signage added. I don't think signage is the problem in this case. It was just a lack of judgment. And then the other thing that I brought forward was that highway will be under a study pretty soon as far as, like I understand the consultant has been picked as how they're going to deal with that intersection. And I feel that they'll be talking to administration. I'm thinking Ken's department will be involved because of the amount of traffic that we have on the 120 and how they're going to deal with that. So right now, I don't think another sign's going to matter or is going to help. It's stuff that's just going to have to be worked out. And like I say, when you go around the corner too fast, you fall over.
provincial highway anyhow, we can't do any signage.
Yeah, and it's provincial.
No, the number 3.
Where the sign is on number 3.
It's nothing to do with us.
The vehicle was heading east and then took a right-hand turn onto the 120 and then fell over.
You can't
Driver error.
you can't sign for driver error. That always happens. But just when you brought up about staff talking to the consultant on this intersection, I think what we'll really push, I feel we should push, is for what they did with Highway, I think it's 25 that comes out onto Highway 1, just west of Strathmore, a big long acceleration lane for when the semis do pull out in that they have a big long acceleration lane heading westbound. And of course, they'll be putting in a turning lane, onto the 120, but a big we need a long, not a short one, but a long one like they did up there. No, it's 25.
There.
That's the intersection.
It comes up from Vulcan, and then it heads west. They put in a big long, it's over a kilometer long. And that way the semis can get up to speed.
That's where the school's to the south and it goes down to 80K?
Nope, it's before. It's that highway that comes up out of Vulcan,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Just
Okay.
before that.
just before that. Well, they did that one at Indus there at the school zone too, but that was because of the amount of accidents and the kids coming out of the high school there. But
Okay, so, yeah, that'll be discussed in the future for the lanes coming up. This is for the sign, so Richard, you receive them for information?
Yeah, I just feel that we could ask transportation to put a sign up, but another sign, is it going to make much difference? Especially in lieu of the fact that this intersection will be changed, improved, altered, whatever the word is.
Robin?
Yeah, ultimately, I think that, I would want to defer to more the subject matter experts, whether it be staff or transportation. I think it's simple enough to, potentially send a letter saying, hey, we had this experience, is there a need for it? And maybe they look into it, and if they say, we've assessed it and we find that there is no need, then that's fine. I'm okay with asking, and relying on staff or other department staff on whether or not it's necessary, but I do hear what you're saying. Like when you're going too fast, you turn too sharp and you roll over, but, yeah.
what do we put up? Sign, idiot, slow down. What more signs do you want? More signs at times become a hindrance.
Good one.
But too many signs, it's,
Carolyn?
So I reached out to AT and for preliminary discussion, and the current sign is more than adequate. In their thoughts, but if council wishes to put a formal letter in, that would be awesome as well. However, it meets it's more than adequate, and in the discussion and the response, I'm not sure if a bigger sign or a different sign would be permitted.
I don't think driver error warrants a letter.
No, I agree. And that's exactly what I was hoping.
Michelle?
Yeah, I think that's kind of pointless to put up a sign there, because when they twin the number 3, all those things are going to change anyway, and they'll be looked at and studied and everything else. So I think it's just pointless for us to do something when it's going to happen in the next few years anyway.
And Mr. Chairman, one more thing, sorry, I forgot to mention, so AT, they're called TEC now, Transportation and Economic Corridors. That's the new name. So they're also investigating and looking into luminaires at that intersection and at 7 Persons as well.
Okay. Richard?
Yeah, I just want to comment, like, I looked at the picture that I saw where that truck had rolled over, and thank goodness there was not a vehicle sitting there, because they probably would have got killed in there, and I understand it, but there's just, like, we can have so many signs and they're not going to do any good anyway. Are they going to read them? Perhaps they'll give a turning lane. It'll be that traffic that's sitting there will be in a little different position once it's redesigned. and then it won't happen again. And like I said, I feel transportation will be talking to Public Works, and there's our input, so.
Like,
I have to agree with everything that's been said. I think we can take this as information. I mean, administration's already gone through this process and the steps to talking to transportation, and I think we can leave it be as this gets developed later on.
that's your motion.
That's my motion.
Receive for information. Okay. Any other questions on it? Blaine made the motion, receive for information. Vote. Richard?
I was too busy looking for.
That's carried. 10.3, Carolyn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Meeting with Minister of Municipal Affairs, page 94. As always, there's an invite for municipalities to put their name forward to meet and have an audience with the Minister of Municipal Affairs when at the spring RMA conference. On page 94, there was just a few suggestions. If council wishes to proceed to meet with the minister, some topics of discussion could be the assessment model review, safety codes enforcement, and the Local Authorities Election Act that they're currently reviewing.
Well, I think we don't let off that safety or assessment model review.
And safety codes
We can
enforcement.
stay in their ear with that. If we got a chance to go, we should go to it.
Absolutely, sure. Every time you can meet, you gotta.
Yep. Keith is making the motion to go on the assessment model review, or do we have to give them everything we're bringing?
They like to be in the know because they prepare briefs prior. So the staff prepare briefs for the minister prior to.
So, could you, just, elaborate a little on the safety codes, enforcement, and local authority? Is that something that would be pertinent to us, like, in the near future, or?
So safety codes enforcement is in just touching base in regards to Silver Creek and that the sewer over pumping there, so just touching base. So it might be, hopefully it's dealt with prior to March. And then Local Authorities Election Act, just to discuss there's some parts of the Local Authorities Election Act that do not conform of practices of today.
So why don't we leave all three of them on there? And we can.
And then put number 4, surprise.
Okay, Keith's made the motion. Any questions on it? Vote.
Why not? Keep them on their toes.
That's carried. All right, 10.4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Page 96, IT security hardware amendment. So the recommended motion that council amend the 2024 IT capital budget to include IT security hardware and software and remove it from the 2025 IT capital budget, and it's to be funded from the IT reserve. There's background information on 96 and 97.
Michelle?
I'll move this, but I do have a question. Is it going to make sending our emails and stuff worse than what it is? Because I don't know if it's just this computer or what, but I have people phoning me all the time saying that they're not getting my emails, or if they do get them, they can't open them, and
If you're having like issues like that, just let us know and then Michael can help out and try to rectify what's going on.
well, I would like to talk to Michael, please.
Okay.
Okay, motion as presented here. Michelle made it. Any questions? Vote. That's carried. All right, I guess time to go on camera. Richard's making the motion to go in camera.
Yes.
Thank you for coming today.
From lunch, and we will now entertain our Teresa from Verge. Teresa Hardiker is going to give us a presentation. Teresa, the floor is yours.
Yes, I am going to entertain you all with my wonderful words and give you some updates on what's been going on. So what I wanted to present today was the top priorities as we move forward into 2024. Through the Building Agricultural Workforce Capacity, we did have an opportunity to have an environmental scan that was done as part of that grant. So between that and the individual stakeholder strat plans, I just developed 4 goals that we're hoping to work on so that I can be focused moving forward through 2024. And then, of course, it doesn't take away from some of the micro programs that some of the stakeholders have. I'm working on a couple for the county of 40 Mile, and we actually are going to all get together, we being Beth and Kim and Tara Lynn, so that we can figure out the synergies between what's going on in Cypress County and what I've been doing with these schools. So the first goal is going to be the development of the welcoming community strategy. I've talked a little bit about the welcoming communities and the opportunities that we have by joining the group that is actually bringing that forward. So I'll go into that in the next slide. Of course, we've been working on the Building Agricultural Workforce Capacity and the expansion of the Experience Southeast Toolkit. This, once we have the full report, I've got a draft report, but we're doing a little bit of changing and editing to it. And this is going to move into 2024 just being a 100% marketing. This is what Southeast Alberta looks like. Please come and work here, live here, whatever that looks like. All of them are going to kind of work together, so the welcoming communities will definitely work with the marketing that we are doing within the BAWC. The next goal is going to be continued collaboration with the Housing Innovation Alliance. What I did is I brought together all of the economic development officers between Brooks, all the special areas, and then our stakeholder area. There's a couple of stakeholders within our region that weren't represented, so PEP is part of our alliance there. And what we have developed or made a goal that we are going to have roundtable discussions and bring in interesting speakers. So, and I can talk a little bit about that as we move forward. And then the fourth goal is going to be the Return to Rural 2.0 retention program. Many years ago in the special areas, they did the Return to Rural project. And my colleague there has shared what that project looked like. And there's a really great opportunity to have a synergy between Prairie Rose, who is doing some amazing programs right now, and the college. And it's just really more of a marketing program again, trying to talk these young people into, yes, you can go away and get your education or get it here. And then we want you to stay here because there's lots of gaps that you can fill. I was actually reading an article that was produced, I think, just before Christmas, that what that article agreed to was that there's actually more workers moving out of the workforce than are coming in. So I feel that this is a really great opportunity for us to maybe be able to retain some of those youth and have them stay within our area. Is there any questions from anybody? Those, I can go into them further. Okay. So this is just a snapshot of the Medicine Hat limited our immigration partnership and all of the different organizations that are involved with this. And then they have brought in Brady from the Rural Renewal Stream as well. And then they also invited us to the table, being Virgin, the stakeholders. So this just gives you an opportunity to look at all of the different organizations, what they're doing. Feel that probably within some of our areas, there's an education piece that needs to happen as to what actually is a welcoming community. We're definitely, if we're following the government guidelines, they're putting 100% of their energy into developing the immigration, and they feel that that's going to fulfills what we're looking for as far as developing new opportunities or bringing in some of that workforce. So they have received, and I know that you're going to beat me up, it's SILP funding, and I have absolutely no idea what that acronym means. But as part of the funding model that they have developed, they are putting more money into having some wraparound services that will go into Cypress, into the town of Bow Island, and into the county of 40 Mile. Most of that will probably be some education. What does that look for as far as developing businesses? Yeah, it's kind of interesting, and I'm really glad that we have been asked to be part of it. The gal that has been running it has been talking to us about it for a couple of years, but we're now sitting at the table and a voice at the table. So yeah, that's just an interesting snapshot of what's going on. So the building agricultural workforce capacity, as I mentioned, is just about ready to be launched. I received an email yesterday from the Medicine Hat Chamber, and I think they said it was the Medicine Hat Chamber and Cypress Ag Roundtable for February 21st, and they have asked us to present the final findings. So that will be a great opportunity for us to reach out to people that are interested in what we have to say. I also will be having a job fair and employers' best practices that will be taking place on February the 15th. And there's information that is available online on our website for that. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to, last year we had 26 different businesses and we had 150 people that attended. So we're hoping to be able to develop that a little bit more. And then part of the funding, I think what we'll do is we'll have in-person training for the employers' best practices that morning. And then we'll be able to offer 2 or 3 different lunchtime that will just be on Zoom, and that'll be education systems as well. So, and that's kind of the end of the funding and puts a check mark beside the grant that we received from the Labor Market Partnership to be able to do this grant. And then we'll be applying for a second piece in March. Clayton and I have already sat down and started to do the parameters on that. But as I said before, that will just be an opportunity for us to do marketing and redo the website that it was Invest Southeast Alberta. So these are just some quick points that Elan had come up with. Quarter of the local workforce within Verge Economic Development Region works in agriculture and supported sectors. Our population decreased by 1.7 compared to the provincial increase of 4.8. 64% of employers in our area have been trying to fill positions for over 12 months, and just over half of employers are expected to grow or add to their workforce in the next 3 years. Retirements within the next 3 years are expected to impact about half the employers, and that would be over 30 positions cited. Now, these were definitely done between the people that answered our questionnaire online, and then Elan actually spoke to close to 32 different employers in our area, so she had some really good stats that will come forward in the full report.
Excuse me, when you're talking area, what do you mean by our area? How big, or what's the boundaries?
All the stakeholder areas, so it would be the county, Guatemala, Cypress County, and then she focused on some businesses within Bow Island.
Okay,
And there was some city medicine hat that snuck in there, although we were supposed to be just rural.
okay. Yeah, I just wondered sometimes, because I know when we get the unemployment stats, or employment stats, it's always got Lethbridge in there too, and I was worried that that was in there, but it's a standalone.
Say if she was, like, most of, reading the report, most of the stats she developed from actually, oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm not used to this microphone.
Otherwise, the people at home can't hear you. I missed that.
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Sorry, where was I? Most of the stats that I see in her recommendations came from the conversations that she had with the businesses on a one-to-one basis.
Okay.
And, but saying that, if there is any that will come off of the internet, they will absolutely have Southwest Alberta included in them. I don't understand why they can't break them out. They
I don't
they
either.
get information from us and they get information from them. But, yeah, there's not too much we can do about that, so.
Well, what happens is you hear those statistics and then you just don't pay them any attention because you're saying, well, it's not realistic, so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She has about 2 or 3 pages of actual recommendations, and that came from her conversations. And that's going to be the biggest takeaway for our stakeholders, so that we've actually talked to the businesses, and this is what they're telling us that they need as far as developing programs or developing synergies or whatever that looks like. So, yeah, I know that I've been the only one that's had eyeballs on the report, but it wasn't just the same fluff, and that's definitely what I asked her for. And she made some really good connections and spoke to them. So there's some really good information in there. So I'm hoping that it's probably done by the end of the month, and then I can get it out to the stakeholders and the different people that actually took the time to meet with us. So when I say City Medicine Hat, Community Futures was one of them, Apex was one of them, those kind of things. So definitely people that I would say I'm in a collaborative partnership with, and they always include me, so I was more than happy to have them included. So, yeah. Questions, anybody?
Anybody else?
Other than Richard?
He's our spokesman now.
Yeah, well, I'll give him his chance to speak about what's going on too. So this is just some examples of the Come Farm Experience Southeast Alberta, that the marketing that we've done. This is actually an image that we've put onto the occupational bookmarks that we've done. As part of the grant, I needed to provide 10. We've got 7 done at this point, so I'm just finishing up the last 3. So these will be printed and available online as well. This is my favorite. So this is the cow, and we've actually now done a sheep as well. So the graphic designer kind of envisioned that it would be chickens and sheep and cows. So the reason for the 2 is because we're not just a livestock, we also have grain farms, and so that's why we did the both. This is actually going on to a billboard in Calgary. So we've been able to have enough of our grant money that, and Clayton's like, oh, I can see this sitting on the side of Calgary. And so it's going to be quite fun. We also had buttons made up there. They seem to be quite popular. And I'm going to be going to the Ag Services Conference next week in Lethbridge and taking all of this information and talking about the stakeholders in Southeast Alberta. And yeah, so that's next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be there. So, and I'm going with the County of 40 Mile. They're paying for my hotel room, and they also offered support staff. So that was one of the things when I said at the beginning that I'm doing a little bit more micro.
Well, they are our rich cousins to the west,
Hey,
so
yes.
it's much appreciated.
Yes. That's on YouTube now. I'll tell Nathan to scroll through and find it. Okay, so the Housing Innovation Alliance, like I said, there's a group of us. The focus will be on sharing opportunities, successes, best practices throughout the region. We are going to be meeting sometime in February, mostly to talk about the planning of the Newell Roundtable that's going to be happening on the 18th. I've secured Karen Blewett for a medicine hat, but one of the discussions is going to be, do we need to have two? Maybe there's an opportunity for us to just do, invite everybody to the April 18th one. One of the other businesses that I have contacted is Can Cube. They're actually a Cypress County business that pre-builds the homes and comes and drops them and puts them up. Yeah, so they've kind of broken into doing tiny homes, and they're also doing quite a bit of work, meeting places and work spaces kind of ideas. So I've reached out to her and asked her to speak to the group just because I think what they're doing is kind of cool and out of the box thinking. But that's what we're going to be doing with that group for right now. What we had decided was maybe 3 meetings a year. So if we meet for the Can Cube and meet for the 18th, then the next one would be in the fall. And there's an opportunity maybe to do it with the Global Economic Forum that they put on in October. So trying not to make it a busy work kind of a situation, but it's something that we have to have a conversation about and try and stay on top of what's happening in everybody's region. So I'm not sure, did anybody go to the housing discussion in Canmore last week? No. Yeah, apparently they brought together some of the municipalities and they had big conversation. According to Lindsay this morning on her talk on with Big Dan on chat. So I was just watching that before I came home. Or came out. So the return to rural is blank because I really just haven't started working on what the framework's going to be, but I do have it. It is on the radar and it's going to be developed this year and give us the opportunity to be able to, like I said, it's just a retention program. I'm not sure if you saw the announcement yesterday, but the Prairie Rose School Division and the Mesnat College is going to be doing a trade program starting in grade 10, which I think is amazing. So definitely want to bring in those two groups and be able to have some discussion with them and support them through the programs that they're doing. Prairie Rose is flying. They're doing really, really well.
Really aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we've talked about all of that. Okay. Do you want to do a bit of an update as to what's going on just because you are the chair?
Actually, no, but I do have a couple more, not questions, but thoughts. Like a lot of study, a lot of conversation on housing initiative. We're talking about the fact that people are retiring. And but they're not necessarily moving into the seniors' home, unless you three might want to tell me different here. But I see us staying where we are, so.
We got a room booked already for you, so don't worry.
You've got a room booked, okay. So housing is so important, right? But I look at it and what works in Medicine Hat doesn't work necessarily for Dunmore. I look at our smaller hamlets and, how do you do some housing there when you don't have transportation? You don't have all the things that go with it. And for a county to try and do something, there's an ongoing cost that is crazy, or will be crazy. I see us partnering with whether it's Medicine Hat or, we do have some smaller communities like 7. But where's our line? And I guess that's something that Cypress County will have to discuss. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how those other municipalities with the small hamlets are going to handle all this. Or yeah. No, you're not on there. Yeah, there you go.
Red means it's on, sorry. Did you read the email I sent you yesterday? The government sent a grant framework for rural transportation. That's exactly what you're talking about. So it actually looks like it's quite good, but yeah, we should probably discuss that further on the 30th when we meet. I sent it out to the board.
Yeah, I know when I look at rural transportation and had numerous conversations with the previous mayor of Medicine Hat, and that's a huge cost. And they keep trying to get it right, and it's as things change, like now there was more people working at home, now they got to come back on it again, and it'll be interesting where we go with it and what we come up with for answers. So.
And we did rural transportation that went from Medicine Hat to Lethbridge daily. Remember that?
Yes,
That would be about 4 years ago already. And they stopped at 7 and other stops along the way. And then I don't know how successful it was, but there was a grant that was received.
That they did that, yeah. It's interesting that they keep putting these grants out, and as you said, they keep doing these programs that don't seem to work. But have we actually sat down and asked the people that what they would require? I see that Strathmore has got a fairly good program that they'll come and get you and take you into Calgary or whatever. So, yeah, I think there's a few different options, but I definitely am hearing what you're saying. Does the municipality get into it? I listened to a podcast yesterday with Trevor Lewington, and he was talking about the fact that, housing actually isn't something that the municipality should be looking at. It's an Alberta and a federal government issue.
I agree.
But they're downloading it. It was quite an interesting podcast, and Trevor Lewington to me is actually a smart guy, right? So that's why I listened to it for the hour. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I honestly don't.
Well, I don't think anybody does right now, and it'll be different for everybody, but at least there's some action happening on it, and maybe we will learn as we go down. Shane has some questions.
Sure.
See, I feel like with housing for municipalities, let's take Irvine, for instance, you need bus service, pick up and at least twice a day and brought back twice a day to hamlet like that, for people for grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, so on. So, that's a huge cost to have a bus. And it has to be a special bus so you can take seniors and handicaps and
Yeah, absolutely.
driving up and down, so.
Same
That's tough.
Same sentence, Shane? Okay, yeah. Well, I'll just throw that in. Transportation between Medicine Hat and Redcliffe, they still can't get that right. So maybe there'll be something good that will come out of all of this, so.
Yeah, we'll take a look at what was presented, and maybe there is an option there, but I don't know. It seems to me like it's so large, like even the housing, it's such a large thing. And, we talk about immigration and transportation, and it all goes into what this umbrella of housing is, and who's going to fix that? because the federal government really isn't. They're just looking at the immigration standpoint, because then we've done something, we've brought in, but, yeah, they don't have teachers that teach them English. Well, if they don't actually speak English, then, you know, how are they fulfilling these job positions that they're saying?
Right,
So,
yeah.
And, yeah, it's,
It's going to be a great conversation down the road, there's no doubt about it. So, lots of interesting stuff coming.
absolutely, absolutely.
I have had other CAOs, planning people tell me though that they definitely do not want to be in the
I'm thinking of it.
landlord business.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I said that when I was in Scotland. I told the board they're building cookie cutter houses like they did after the war, and they've all got solar panels on them, and they've got a driveway, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a kitchen, and there you go. And live in that kind of idea. And there's rows and rows and rows of the exact same house.
Okay.
So that's something that they're doing there in order to overcome the housing. But some of the states that we went into must have close to 500 houses, and that's what they're developing. And they are exactly the same as your neighbor kind of idea. And that's what they did after the war, because they, at that point, you know, they were in the housing thing. So is that the provincial government needs to do that? I don't know. She's sitting on a lot of opportunity there, but
Yeah, I think our job is to supply.
advocate.
Yeah, advocate, but also as a municipality, supply good services,
Absolutely.
good structure, have it all in place for
Yeah.
the developer, for the homeowner, and try and keep the costs down so that it is accessible, so.
Yeah, so if I look at our stakeholder area, the town of Bow Island is doing that. They've applied to the grant in order to develop the infrastructure and hoping to attract that developer that's going to do that. So they have done that, and they don't, you know, that's a conversation that Gord and Dave would be able to, how, at what level do they feel comfortable with doing that? But then they've kind of always been in the developer, like, you know, we'll do the infrastructure and bring in the developers.
Right,
so.
yeah.
And that's one of the things that we're looking at with the Housing Alliance, that we'll be able to have that conversation when we meet in April. Because, you know, when you take a look at the town of Bow Island specifically, they have a lot of developers that are making houses. Why couldn't they just take those houses and drop them on the area? So, and they brought in a group that did, like, you could have high density, and here's a park, and here's some single homes, and, you know, they tried to make it an area that could be good for all. So, you know, and I haven't heard if they received any money on the grant, so once that's developed, then they'll be able to hopefully attract a developer that would do the whole situation, so, or that's their hope anyway.
I think we've done a good job of looking after our hamlets. We've done lots of
Yeah,
infrastructure.
absolutely.
We've got the roads in place. We've got everything else, and there will be people that will want to move in there, and
Well, and you have available land. It's like you have both said, it's the transportation piece. If you, I met a single mom yesterday that the taxi went from here to Oyen to collect her to bring her back here because her child's in a program in Medicine Hat, and I'm like, to Oyen? Like, you know, she doesn't have a car, so that's, you know, that was just a highlight of something that they had to do.
for sure. Keith, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just been listening to the conversation here. So is there a balance between bringing people in and actually finding a place where they're going to be productive if there's a language issue? Because I'm just looking at all these different aspects that you've been talking about.
Yeah.
And I think of where I live, and then I think of Suffield, and I think of 7 persons, and thinking all these different things and the transportation issue and the housing issue. And I think something probably you may not have considered, and I'm going to pass this out for you because, I mean, I see it, having grown up in Jenner and being used to that hour to town. I'm used to the isolation. I grew up there. For, I'm going to say this very carefully, for people, for
I know what you're-
young ladies that want to marry farmers in Jenner, there is what I call isolation. And it's very similar to what I think the pioneers faced when they came out here. It's all of a sudden, I have to go to town. I'm going, why? You know, and I'm wondering if in looking at immigration, we have people coming from a totally different culture. And they're coming to a very harsh climate. I just know of a couple that she married a guy from Honduras or Guatemala, and he came up 2 weeks ago for the very first time to Canada. And I'm going, oh, welcome to Canada, boy. You got one brutal
Yeah.
welcoming committee coming up in a week. I mean, and so I'm just, you know, I'm throwing this out as there's some emotional issues here. We can talk about all these tangible things. There's some real emotional issues that I haven't heard addressed.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to come and live in Calgary, and then if you've lived in Calgary all your life and you come to Medicine Hat, it's like,
Yeah.
it's a culture shock. And that's not even a culture shock compared to moving to Suffield or to the backside of Jenner. I mean, Hilda, Schuler.
Under the hills, we got lots.
You know, I mean, I'm just passing that on as something that probably should be worked into this equation.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of interesting. I forget about it. When I was thinking about, especially when it's cold like this, I think of the pioneers, right? And I think of the hardships of coming out and living in a 6x8 soddy. And I'm going, the winter is incredibly cold. And the pioneers were deliberately not told about the winters.
Yep.
They were told the weather is stimulating. They were not told it could freeze you to death. And I go, wow. Like, and I don't want to be a pessimist, but I go, there's some real issues, and I think we have to be fair to the people moving into our area. We tell them the way it is.
Yep.
I mean, these are some harsh realities. It's like Dan said, if you move onto an acreage, you should be driving a four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And so, you know, I'm just passing that on as some, you know, we do have an isolation thing. We do have a weather thing. You know, we do have all these harsh conditions that,
Yeah.
quite frankly, government can't solve everything.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm just passing that on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your observation, Keith, and I think that you're bringing up a very good point. So one of the avocations that I have been through the discussions with the Rural Renewal Stream is that we're looking for a high impact and high need. So, for instance, I had a conversation with GS Dunn yesterday in the county of 40 Mile, and they are looking for millwrights. So millwrights are going to come with an education, so chances are that they're speaking English. This infographic is definitely, these are the organizations that are going to address what some of the things that you have brought up. So what does it look like when you're looking to live in a rural area? What does the housing look like? What does your wraparound supports look like? So that's why this collaboration with this particular group is going to be very opportunist for us, because they'll provide the services. They're already in place. They've already been doing some very successful partnerships or immigration opportunities in the city of Medicine Hat. Now I want them to develop programs that will come out and be wraparound services for us for exactly some of the things that you're asking for. But you know, I'm still going to stand on my soapbox and say that we should be looking for high impact and high need in the rural areas. Yes, there's some opportunity for the $15 an hour jobs, but I think that there is enough people to maybe fill those in. We need the immigration to be able to find us some millwrights and find us agronomists is another thing that we're severely lacking in our region. And yeah, if you would come and live in Irvine, you're going to, like I said, you're already educated in speaking English, and the chances are that you can afford a car, and then that doesn't become an issue or a barrier. It's the people that don't have jobs and don't have cars, and they're living there because of the cost is much less in some of the rural areas, but they need some of those wraparound services. I always laugh at my colleague in Foremost right now that they're it's drug day, so they're actually the drop-off for the drugstore. So the drugstore brings it, Apple Drugs drives it down twice a week, and it's, yeah, she's the drug dealer, she calls herself. It totally just a joke. But that's one of the ways that they're being able to do a wraparound service, because a lot of the people in Foremost don't drive. So they're bringing their prescriptions to them. So, you know, maybe there's an opportunity for us to start thinking a little bit more outside of the box, but it's not necessarily something for you as a municipality or me as an economic development organization, but we can educate the businesses, and maybe some of the businesses will come up with a wraparound opportunity to be able to just have that. You know, Curtis sits on my board, and he's pretty out of the box thinking, and they realize that these people aren't able to get their prescriptions, so they're paying for somebody to bring it to them.
So that brings up another question. How are you working with employers to prepare them for what might, or who might, I should say, who might accept a position with them? Like, are they aware of all these different barriers? Obviously, people that have done it for a long time are aware of the barriers.
Yeah.
But for people that may be new into this, like, how are they preparing to kind of look after their employers to help them make that, or employees to make them adjust to life here?
Yeah, so that becomes part of the Experience Southeast Alberta toolkit. When Invest Southeast Alberta did the Brood study, we developed a website, and it has some toolkits and different things on there. But right now, it's focused on labor attraction and really the Brood. So it's becoming very outdated. So as part of the Experience Southeast Alberta toolkit, what I have done is we did the videos. We've done toolkits for renewable opportunities are on there, because at that point we were still talking quite heavily about renewable opportunities. And what there would be based on the SILP grant is opportunities to be able to say, there's no transportation here. There's, you know, we've got housing here, but you'd have to get to Medicine Hat in order for it to be your center of opportunity. Like, you know, there's different opportunities that we can do, but that toolkit would be able to provide a vast amount of information once you are not only moving here, but thinking about setting up a business. And then I spend a tremendous amount of time talking with existing businesses, and they call with different things or grant opportunities, or so we have a database that we send all that information out. So after we discuss, for instance, the transportation, we might have database people that we would be able to say, hey, here's an opportunity, maybe can you take a look at it and we can discuss further. So yeah, that's all part of what I do. So there'd be BR&E, a lot of marketing, and then up until now, our investment cube has been investment attraction at the bottom. I know that there's always a lot of talk about the smokestacks, but that is definitely the hardest opportunity to be able to bring in the big businesses. So because I am one person, we've, from a board standpoint, always had my triangle being a little bit inverted. So we do BR&E as the first thing, and then our second opportunity is marketing. Now I've kind of switched over to goals or pillars just to maybe foresee what's going to happen with the economic development strategy framework that's going to come out as a regional piece. I know that that's one thing that the city is very based on. They have their 4 pillars, and I'm assuming that once that report comes out, there'll be something like that. And then from a board standpoint, they've also asked for us to do a new strategic plan. And what does that look like from all of the stakeholders? Like, what exactly do you want Verge to be as a support moving forward? So that will come from not only the regional strategy that's being done by all of you as stakeholders in the area, from a board standpoint, and then yeah, it will be an interesting year, I think. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but it will be an interesting year as to how all of those pieces are going to start to go together. So.
Yep, more to come, more to follow.
More to come. Yes,
and I think
Selena
so,
and
right?
Pat Bowen are actually coming to our board meeting on the 30th. So they're going to present their new logos, their new direction, and how the synergies will be able to work moving forward.
Yeah, Verge was not really working with the city. They had their group, we had ours, just population's different, just everything. But there is common ground has been found, how we can work with each other and do more things. And so that's why it will be exciting as we proceed. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And then somewhere along the line, we'll have to make some decisions on what Cypress County wants to do.
Well,
We need more information on what other counties are doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I've been here 8 years, and Pat Bowen, the planning guy, actually reached out to me and is like, can we talk? And yeah, that's the first time that he even, what do you do? And how do you move forward? And yeah, so they've both been invited to come to the board meeting, so.
Great, okay. Is there any more questions for Teresa? No? Okay. Thank you, that was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate the
I
update.
appreciate you staying after lunch in order to hear my.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Teresa.
Yeah, absolutely. We are actually out here on the 30th. So we are actually here.
Verge.
Yes, so if you guys want to, if you have space in your calendars for that day. And then, like I said, Selena and Apple.
Okay, that's the Tuesday morning. Gotcha.
I just got confirmation from Selena this morning, so. Oh, you'll be in Mexico?
You would give up a Verge meeting to go to Mexico? All right.
We can have a meeting.
Yeah,
We'll be able to fit that in for you.
it'd be full attendance, yeah.
Anyways, thank you very much.
Thanks, Teresa.
See you in a few months again.
Okay, I don't see anything else on our agenda. We've got all the motions in that we were looking for. I think Dan gave them to you before we left. I have nothing else on there, so I will adjourn the meeting. Meeting's adjourned. Where you going? Where are you going? They got to cough up with some money. I mean,
That's the thing, they gotta come up with some.
And that's exactly what's happening. This is their responsibility.